Des Moines and all of Central Iowa, welcome to Mac's World Live. Mac's World is your world. Every day we talk about the issues and topics that matter most to you. And as always, it's your voice we want to hear in Mac's World. So join the conversation by calling 515-244-0077. And now, here's the host of Mac's World Live, J. Michael McCoy.
I have the gift of receiving. You have to have that, you know.
You do.
Because otherwise, what are all the givers going to do?
But you know what the Bible says.
Blessed are those who receive.
It's better to give than to receive.
That's what they say. I don't know. I kind of like this receiving bit. It's paying out for me pretty good.
All right, good afternoon. It is Mac's World Live here on 99.3 FM and webcast1live.com. We are having technical difficulties with the radio side. It's that old technology. It's past tense. It's yesterday's news. But
right, because the internet never has any problems. Never have any streaming problems.
But the transmitter's off, right? For some reason, we can't get the transmitter to come on.
That is true.
All right.
Yes. We have our engineer is working feverishly on it. Has been since about 8:30 this morning. So prayers for strength, endurance, and wisdom are appreciated.
Leonard's a good guy.
He is a good guy.
Well, I've got so much good stuff to talk about, so we're just going to talk about it. I've got a rabbi coming in next hour, Rabbi Yossi Jacobson. He is most famously known as the owner of Maccabees. Is that the way it's pronounced?
Yes.
Maccabees Deli. And one of my favorite places to eat.
I've never been there.
Haven't you?
No, I have. I've seen it, though.
They also have I think this is probably the right term, but they have a Jewish grocery store there. Okay. Not a real big one, but for the things that are
kosher.
Kosher? Yeah. What does kosher mean?
It has to. We can ask him.
I should ask him
that.
Yeah.
Well, let's have him answer that question instead of us ignorant
Frank
people.
knows.
Well, Frank thinks he knows everything, but we'll let the guy who actually knows answer.
All right. So last week we told you a little bit about a criminalist here in Des Moines, Amy Polpeter, who was fired from her job at the DCI lab because she made some comments on social media about being afraid of black people. That's a quote, right? Afraid of black people. So let me read you some of the news story from the Des Moines Register today, because there is an update. The work of a forensic scientist for the state of Iowa fired last week after expressing her fears about black people on social media will be independently reviewed by another criminalist, state officials said Friday. Her work, is that what I'm getting here? Her cases? She won't be reviewed.
No, casework.
Iowa Department of Public Safety spokesperson Alex Murphy said such reviews are a common practice after the departure of any forensic scientist. Fired criminalist Amy Polpeter was involved in 6 open cases at the time her employment was terminated and more than 1,400 over her 10-year career with the agency's Division of Criminal Investigation. Each of the open cases will be reviewed, and further action, including retesting, will depend upon the facts in each case, Murphy said. Guy Cook, a Des Moines attorney and past president of the Iowa State Bar Association, called on the Public Safety Department to thoroughly review Polpeter's analysis and findings, particularly for pending cases. Quote unquote, the cloud that would be over her work in any criminal case would open the door to question whether the state has proven a case beyond a reasonable doubt. This, according to Guy Cook. That cloud can't be removed unless her work is done independently, and a simple recheck is not satisfactory because of the public statements that she's made. Paul Peter, like other criminalists performing DNA analysis for the state, was provided with some information about her cases, including possibility the race and gender of individuals. A policy advisor for the Innocence Project, a well-known national group that works with DNA to get people who have been wrongly convicted, noted Paul Peter's situation is an example of why law enforcement agencies and their criminalists are increasingly being encouraged to adopt blind testing procedures. During such tests, key details about cases are withheld from forensic scientists to prevent even the perception that biases might have played a role in their finding. The National Commission on Forensic Science, a part of the U.S. Department of Justice, endorsed the concept last year. Paul Peter publicly posted on her, boy, say that fast twice. Paul Peter publicly posted on her Facebook page July 8th that she no longer feels safe around blacks because of the Black Lives Matter movement, which she said effectively created a more racist environment than working to be equal. She also posted similar statements on Channel 8's local television, social media, and other places. Now, Bob is going. Are you still going to refrain from saying anything?
Well, it depends. I mean, what they're doing is, as far as when an employee is fired, and for the reasons that she did, was fired, then they would question the integrity of the testing that she would do. So this is normal protocol under this situation.
Bob, one of the things in the story that I thought was interesting was this idea about blind testing, so that the info, the data that you're given on a particular case won't identify the race of the different people involved. Am I interpreting that somewhat right?
Right.
Why wouldn't they do that? Why wouldn't they go forward with something like that, just to eliminate possible racist or prejudice?
It may be something that they need to do. I know when I was doing casework, they had a description, or they had a name of the person
Right.
that was part of the receipt form. There's a receipt form that comes into the laboratory that has the information on that person and the evidence that was submitted. So that goes on the report. So when we do the report, and what's important is when you have the evidence, you want to make sure that the name on the evidence matches the name that's on the receipt form.
Right.
So that you don't get anything mixed up.
Right.
So you want to. So somehow they would have to change that system that's set up the way it is. I did thousands of cases myself, and I didn't usually look at the name. I mean, even though the name was there, I would just write it down because that's part of what I had to do.
Right.
But I was more interested, like all of the criminals there, in just doing the analysis.
Right.
And so that's how I would do my cases. I just do the analysis. Didn't matter to me who it was.
It kind of makes me think about tattoo artists. Now, this is going to sound strange, but when a gal gets a tattoo in certain areas on her body, a lot of people, onlookers or people who are not tattoo artists, will go, "Gosh, man, that must be a great job doing tattoos, like that," and that kind of stuff. Sort of perverse way of thinking about it. But from what I understand, the tattoo artist is so focused on the work they're doing, they don't care. They're not thinking about their surroundings. They're focused on the work. How I compare that is, I imagine the same way in a laboratory. You're just taking a look at the data, at the materials that you're studying, whatever you're investigating, and you don't have time to be thinking about. As I look at this data here, or I look at this report, well, this was a black person that did this or something like. You don't have time to be thinking about such things typically, right?
No, I never had the time. And the thing is, if I looked at a name and I recognized that or knew the person, I wouldn't do the case. I would have somebody else do the case. That way, there was no question as to if I tampered with the evidence because I had a personal interest in it. So that's how we would handle it. That's why we have other analysts that can do the same type of work.
Well, if I understand Amy's position, it is being out in the public, in the field, at a crime scene, being denoted, having
recognized.
Well, having DCI,
Oh, sure.
clothing on, identification, etc. and having being uncomfortable with black people because she thinks that they might become violent against police officers. And she kind of looks like a police officer when she's out in the field, as you did, as any criminalist did.
Right. That was always a concern when I did Crime Scene, which was years ago, that, we were potential targets because we drove around in that blue van that said Division of Criminal Investigation.
Right.
People always perceived us as police
right.
or, law enforcement. And we were not. They didn't know we were not civilians. So there was always that in the back of our mind that we were in danger or potentially in danger when we'd go different scenes or even be on the highway.
Any public official, even firefighters, have a target on their back in some communities.
But why are they changing this, or why are they making this now about the cases that she did rather than what she obviously said, or what she said that was fairly obvious? I don't want to be on. I'm scared when I'm out in the public and we're doing a case.
Well, I'm assuming they're associating that with racism, and therefore a person may have a prejudice. It's just an assumption that people are making, and therefore saying that there's a potential possibility that she may be biased in these cases.
All right, well, we're coming back and we'll take a look at this, plus other stories. Branstad is criticizing Donald Trump's comments about a Muslim American soldier. You heard all about that. And also 30 days in jail and a $100 fine for a driver who killed somebody while driving. That's serious. I'll tell you about it next.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
Hey everybody, I brought Northern Lights Pizza! And it's got Graziano sausage!
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens, rock on! This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Don't forget that when you're in the mood to buy a new house, sell your house, or do anything, call Seth Walker, 577-3728. And today I'll give you another reason to call Seth Walker. It's his birthday. So just call up Seth or text him and tell him happy birthday. I've already done it. You can do it too. We can have some fun with this. Seth Walker, today is his birthday, 577-3728. And don't tell him Max sent you on this one. So I don't know who told me to call you. And don't say you heard it somewhere, because he'll figure. I just had a nudge. I felt some ESP going on, Mr. Walker, and something just told me to call and tell you happy birthday. That's it, man. That's all I know. I don't know. Funny. All right. Iowa Governor Terry Branstad has criticized Donald Trump's recent comments about the family of a slain Muslim American soldier Monday, though he declined to say whether the Republican nominee for president should apologize. Branstad said, and I quote, "I just think that anyone that has died in the service of our country is a hero, and I think it was a mistake." Branstad, a Republican, said of Trump's comments, "I believe the focus of Trump's campaign needs to be on the differences that he and Hillary has in terms of policies." You probably heard about that little dust-up. Kaiser Khan, with his wife, Gaziza, at his side, delivered an emotional speech during the final night of the Democratic National Convention and paid tribute to their son, Army Captain Human Khan, who was killed in Iraq in 2004. Khan was awarded the Bronze Star and the Purple Heart. Trump, in an interview with ABC's George Stephanopoulos, responded by saying he has sacrificed by working hard to create jobs. He also questioned why Khan did not speak. Why Mrs. Khan did not speak. Oh, I'm just so uncomfortable with Trump. I don't know what to do. Yes, Frank.
Well, I find it a little hard to have respect for somebody that's got his wife standing out there with a head covering on, because these are the countries where the real war on women goes on, not the United States of America.
Yeah, because it's a different story in Sharia law when it comes to how women are treated. Why did they even have her standing there? What was the...
Well, it was a family. I mean, it was a mother and a father who lost their son, and a Muslim American who fought for the United States. And Donald Trump has said that he wants to remove all Muslims from the United States. And so he was kind of reacting to that. And
that's not what he said.
And saying that, he should read his Constitution, that he can't say that. And so, but part of the reason why that rhetoric isn't helpful when we broad brush Muslims is kind of because of this. There are a lot of even Pastor Stephen Curry mentioned this the other day when he was on the broadcast with us, and that is there are many Muslims in the world that are, to use Christian vernacular, nominal or cultural Muslims. They're just Muslims by heritage, by birth, and many of them live in the United States, and they cover their heads out of tradition, out of respect, out of decency from their culture, and they're not the radical Muslims that the world is fighting against. But when we speak in broad brush terms like that, then we're insulting Muslims in the United States that have fought alongside other men and women in the United States Army. And this was a perfect example of that.
When did Donald Trump say he wanted to remove all Muslims from the United States?
Tuesday.
Do you have the link to that?
I'm pretty sure it was either a Tuesday or a Monday, or could have been a Friday or a Thursday, maybe a Wednesday. But
he's wanting to put a moratorium on Muslim immigration until we can figure out how to vet these people and not let the dangerous ones in the country. That's not so radical.
Do I want to argue with Frank? No.
Okay. So you just admit that he's right?
Just because he had the last word, I think intelligent people can determine for themselves who's right. Yep. People can form their own opinions. I'm not gonna fight with. I don't disagree with what Frank said. That's what Donald Trump said. That's not the only thing Donald Trump said, and that's part of. But again, it goes to all of us, whether Donald Trump said it or not. We have to be smart. We have to be informed when we talk about Muslim Americans. When we talk about Muslims, we talk about Islam. That we make a distinction between radicalized or extremists or whatever, and cultural Muslims, especially in the United States. Which we have to be smart. We have to be careful.
Okay. Can I move on to a different story now, or
sure?
You and Frank need to.
I think it's interesting. What does Terry Branstad think about what Donald Trump did, considering his son is running the Donald Trump campaign here in the state of Iowa? That's kind of interesting. Just as a side note, that's it. That's the extent of what I think.
All right. Next news story. Dateline Ames, 30 days in jail and a $100 fine for a driver in a fatal hit and run. Grant Rogers, this is by Grant Rogers. A former Ride bus driver will be given a 30-day jail sentence for the December hit-and-run accident that killed an Iowa State University student. This after reaching a plea agreement with prosecutors, according to documents filed in court on Monday. Benjamin Clegg, 24, was scheduled to stand trial Tuesday on charges of hit and run resulting in death and failure to obey a traffic signal in the collision death of 18-year-old Amalia Jacobs of Urbana. A university police officer found Jacobs on the ground at the crosswalk of Ash Avenue and Lincoln Way, prompting a weeks-long investigation to find the driver responsible for her death. However, a defense attorney on Monday morning filed a written guilty plea on Clegg's behalf to a simple misdemeanor charge of failure to report an accident. Clegg will be sentenced to serve his 30 days and pay his $100 fine, according to that document. Evidence shows that the former bus driver realized he'd hit somebody approximately 20 minutes after the collision when he noticed emergency vehicles on scene and was rerouted due to the investigation. Prosecutors asked for the trial to be rescheduled in hopes of appealing Malloy's ruling on the jury instruction, but another judge denied that request on Friday. So what do you think of that?
I remember when we reported, it's really terribly sad.
Yeah. He's driving a bus, a Ride bus, and obviously he hit this woman.
Yes. Was it on surveillance or no? The surveillance footage showed that he got out to check the van later. Yes. Right? Wasn't that what it was? They didn't see that he had hit the young lady, but there was evidence that he needed to stop and check the condition of the vehicle.
Which means he probably heard something.
Right? At the very least. Did he plead guilty? I'm sorry. Did he say he pled guilty? Didn't he?
Yeah, he entered a guilty plea of leaving the scene of an accident. There's no admission of anything. He was charged with failure to report an accident. There is nothing here that says anything about manslaughter or that this woman has died. Nothing. Just $100 and 30 days in jail.
I think some people think that's not stiff enough. Right?
Oh, I would be one of them.
You think that's not stiff enough? It wasn't intentional, though, right? So what if he had intentionally hit the girl, or there was evidence that he had intentionally hit the girl? Then by all means, this wasn't stiff enough. But we don't have evidence that this was a intentional,
correct
event. So this was an accident. I don't know. I don't study criminal cases this closely to know what the typical punishment for running into somebody is. I suspect it would be higher than that. If I was driving down, if I was driving down Meredith at 35, 40 miles an hour and hit somebody, I don't think they'd die. Well, they could. They could. I'd imagine 30 days and $100 would be a pretty low penalty for that, especially as a somebody who's in this case, somebody who has a special license and should be even more cautious. Is that a fair thing to say?
Well, how would you feel?
Oh, I'd be livid. If that was my kid,
yeah,
I'd be mad.
I mean, to me, that's I don't know how you deal with that. I don't know how you justify in your mind that justice has been served. I mean, who thinks this punishment is okay? $100 fine and 30 days in jail. Who thinks that's okay for hitting a pedestrian when you're a bus driver? Now, maybe what they discovered, and it's not anywhere in this story, but maybe they discovered that she was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
There could have been that, and like the reason I asked about the plea of guilt, how quick did he? I mean, did he come forward and say, I did this? But that was part of what he's being punished for, was not reporting the crime. So
that's all he's being punished for. That's all. That's all he's being punished for.
Well, then could it be? Maybe Bob. Maybe you know this. Could he still be sentenced for the death of the gal?
No.
Aren't they separate things?
No, all those charges would have been together.
Oh, wow.
And he would have been tried for all the charges.
Yeah, they assumed that he did not know that he hit her.
Right.
That was the assumption. And I don't know which part of the bus hit her.
Right.
Did she walk into it as it was going by?
Did she get run over by the axles?
I don't know. There's a lot of information that we don't know, that they know. And like Mac was saying, it would have been different charges if they had more evidence.
It seems pretty low, though. 30 days and $100 is a pretty low penalty, almost regardless, isn't it? I mean, that doesn't seem like a very stiff punishment.
If you run your car off the road and they charge you with not being in control of your vehicle, it's probably going to cost you a couple $100.
Right, and that's just for driving into a ditch.
Right.
Would you do any time for that? Probably not. No. So it would just be a fine. So the 30 days was taxpayer-funded vacation, and then...
well, I don't know if it'd be vacation.
Well, I'm sure he wasn't in maximum security prison, though, right? He was probably in city jail.
Could be.
Or county jail, I mean, right? I've never been in there. I don't know if that's a nice place or not. Have you ever been there, Bob? Is it nice?
Not in jail, but I went to visit the jail.
They got TV and stuff. Pretty nice.
Well, in the area I've been, they had TV, but I've never been in a cell, so I can't really tell you.
Yeah, sorry, I'm being real sarcastic.
You really
goofy.
are.
I should stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's head to our next story. Speaking of an entire story that is just not being reported, Dylan Wyckoff, a plumber from Madrid, is the father of a 2-year-old son, Mason, who was found dead July 22nd. His funeral was last Saturday. Faced with a profound tragedy, all week he continued to answer reporters' calls and text messages. He wanted to talk about how this could happen. He vows to find out what can be done to stop it from happening to other children. The first thing he wants to change, I want somebody in my position to get listened to. Of course, they found Mason dead in the apartment of his stepmother. So this was not the mother of the child. Stephanie Erickson. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Services to help with Mason's mother, Stephanie Erickson, who he said was dealing with serious mental issues. Erickson, who was found unresponsive with Mason, died at a hospital several days later. So as we talked the other day, to me, this looks like a failed murder-suicide. Well, I guess it was a successful one because she eventually passed away.
Correct.
Man, just so much screwed up stuff going on. All right, we'll pause for the cause and take a break as we come back here live on 99.3 The Truth.
Northern Lights Pizza's amazing garlic butter makes amazing breadsticks. Now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. I'm Brian Leach, owner of Service Legends, and my position is Chief Talent Officer.
I'm Nicholas Wonderscheid.
I am Bernie Homs.
And I'm the Service Manager.
Marketing Director and Client Relations Manager.
Everything that we do is about ensuring that we exceed your expectations.
Our clients are important to us. 100% satisfaction.
We're not just focused on heating and cooling. That's the easiest part of our job, actually, is fixing furnaces and air conditioners.
Everyone that we come in touch with, we want to improve lives.
Bottom line is, we've got our installation guarantees, 25% energy savings guarantee, comfort guarantee, temperature selection guarantee, property protection guarantee.
100% satisfaction guaranteed. Fixed rate or it's free.
All of those guarantees are backed up with a 100% money-back guarantee to hold ourselves accountable to making sure that you get what you're after.
Just fixing the problem today. If they have another problem 5 days down the road, it's still fixed right or it's free.
We use what's called straightforward pricing. Our technicians are going to give you an exact to-the-penny price on what it's going to take before they move forward with any repair. That way you know what to expect.
It's the same price every day.
No surprises.
If you get off work at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, you come home, you realize that, oh, my furnace is broken. Now you need to call somebody out that night. You shouldn't have to pay more for that.
We're guaranteeing service 24/7.
We run afternoons, evenings, nights, weekends. We're staffed to work that.
Phone rings at 3 in the morning. You'll get one of our representatives answering the phone every time.
We're not sending you out to Timbuktu in some call center. It's our Service Legend team members, our mission control team.
I'll take a call anytime.
And then they answer the phones the same way during the day as they do at night.
It's a great day at your service company. How can we make you smile?
That's the only way to provide true 24-hour service.
When you're able to let somebody actually live in their home safely when they weren't able to do that before, where they don't have to stay up at night and worry about, is the heat going to come back on? Are we going to freeze the pipes? Is the baby in the room next door going to be sick because they got too cold? When you're able to help somebody overcome challenges like that, that's impacting a life. That makes a difference. I get goosebumps thinking about it.
I love the team. I love the people that I work with.
We have fun, but we work hard.
I call them my ambassadors of legendary service. If you could just envision what that is, that's who we're sending to your home.
They literally will call in, pick up the phone and call and say, hey, I want to talk to your manager. And I get on the phone, they're like, that technician that was at my house was the greatest technician ever. That's cool to me.
We want to brighten people's days.
Every person that we have going into the house has gone through an extensive background check.
Drug testing, we have a very thorough interview process that 1 out of 140 people make it through.
If we promise you something, that's what you're going to get, no matter what.
We're here when you need us to protect the safety and comfort of your family.
If you're not happy, we're going to make it right.
If we're willing to put 100% money-back guarantee on what we do, what type of work do you think we do?
Give us a call. We're there for you 24/7, 365 days a year.
Enough said.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Welcome back. It's Max World Live here on 99.3 and Ustream, powered by Webcast One Live. Thank you for taking the time to switch over to the internet today. We are having a transmitter issue. Should be fixed very shortly, maybe even while we're on the air. But if not, that's why we back everything up on the internet. And anytime you go to 99.3 FM and we're not on and you think we should be on, always come to Webcast One Live, and that's our internet backup. All right. So it seems Chicken Little may be on to something. So, Frank, what did Chicken Little say?
The sky's falling?
The sky is falling. The sky is falling. A man by the name of Rod Dreyer is as sane and stable as anybody I know. And he's saying, in essence, that the sky is falling. I reference his new article in the American Conservative called The Coming Christian Collapse. He begins by saying that the 2/3 of millennials who were raised religiously unaffiliated still have no denominational identity in today's world. Unlike previous generations, they're not joining churches as they get older and raise kids. Second, Rod says, millennials, even those who identify as Christians, are shockingly illiterate, both in terms of what the Bible says and more generally regarding what Christianity teaches. This growing biblical illiteracy has led to a moral decline of our young people into consumerism, drug abuse, sexual liberation, and civil and political disengagement. Third, Rod says that the working class has largely abandoned the church, and that if the middle class follows suit, as it appears likely, the church will be in a quote-unquote world of hurt. He quotes the late Michael Spencer, who warned of a coming evangelical collapse. He says, quote, "We evangelicals have failed to pass on to our young people an orthodox form of faith that can take root and survive the secular onslaught." These are chilling words. Rod says. We talk a lot on Breaking Point about external threats to our souls, and rightly so. But as Abraham Lincoln once said in another context, if destruction be our lot, we must ourselves be its author and finisher. Yet I am hopeful, as every Christian must be. As my colleague John Stonestreet says so often, we are part of the grand story of the universe, and God is the author of that story. Yes, as Peter reminds us, we will have to suffer various trials. But why? But why? So that's the authenticity of our faith. That may result in praise, glory, and honor at the revelation of Jesus Christ. And that comes from 1 Peter 1, 6 through 7. Now, this is not new. Back in the 30s and 40s, German Christians had to take a clear stand or be absorbed or compromised by evil. And some, like Bonhoeffer, chose the cross. Look at our brothers and sisters in the Middle East right now. I'm not ready to say we American Christians should soon have to apostolize or die, but I can't help but think of the words of the late Cardinal George, who said he would die in his bed, his successor would die in prison, and his successor will die a martyr in the public square. So what do? We repent of our sins, the sins of the church, and yes, the sins of our nation. The sins of pride, racism, sexual libertinism. I don't know why I can't say that word. Greed, lust for power, and a cautious disregard for human life among them. Second, we must recommit ourselves to Jesus. We need to seek the mind of Christ, to think and to act as Christians, to know our Bible and to live by it in the power of the Spirit, making the most of your time, for the days are evil. We must commit anew to forming a biblical worldview and evaluating everything in our lives in the light of Jesus. We must recommit our time and our treasure to evangelism, to missions, and Christ's great command in Matthew 25 to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, heal the sick, and visit the prisoner. Christian faith is not a nice add-on to our agendas. It's the very marrow, like bone marrow, of our lives. So, the question is this: will we love God with our whole heart, soul, and mind, and our neighbors as ourselves? Well, don't be intimidated by the internal and external challenges we face. Remember that God can do very much with very little, and that success doesn't depend on political or cultural power. While the church may face trials, the gates of hell will not prevail, and Christ's victory is assured. Now, that is a piece written by, let me get the guy's name here. Rod, no, that's not it. Hold on, let me just find it. Rod Dreher.
Where was that published? Sorry.
It's off that website, Bob, that you sent me the Obamacare stuff on. What is that, the Christian News?
Oh, yeah, Christian Breaking News.
Christian Breaking News. Mm-hmm. And I just think this was really said very well. Now, nobody likes to hear the epitaph, while their heart is still beating. But in many ways, that's what he is saying.
Let me ask you,
what did you continue down this road? There will be no more public evangelical Christianity.
Is that what you got out of the article, Mac? That we got to try to do something to save Christianity, or what? Let me ask you a better question. What did you get out of the article? Because I wasn't fully tracking. Sometimes things that are really well written don't necessarily translate in audio perfectly, but.
What I got out of this article is this is the obituary to Christianity in America, and he lays it out very well. Why? And it's because of the young kids. There are no young people. There are fewer younger people coming up and continuing their faith. Millennials, even those who identify as Christians, are shockingly illiterate, he says, both in terms of what the Bible says and more generally regarding the Christianity teachings.
Is that their problem, or have we abandoned people? Has the church abandoned their neighbors. So what I heard you say was that it's the reason that Christianity is dying in the United States is because young people don't believe the gospel. They don't repent and believe the gospel. Could I turn that around and say maybe it's because we've abandoned people? Maybe because Christianity has become an internal, individualized, me only. It only matters about me and going to heaven. That I don't care about my neighbor anymore. And so one of the characteristics that define millennials is that they are very globally thinking. Young people are very globally thinking. So we have a Christianity that's very internal, very myopic, very me-centered. And they're looking for a gospel message that includes loving their neighbors. Maybe we've abandoned young people.
Frank?
Well, just speaking for my own church and own denomination, the younger people who are coming in and taking over where the older ones left off are not the faithful tithe payers, or not the faithful, Wednesday night prayer meeting goers. They're not the people that's supporting the church like the ones that I grew up with in the 60s. It's not just my church. I think that's a lot of churches. I believe it's the signs of the time. It's the Revelation. It's the last church. Laodicea church. It's an apathetic church. It's
lukewarm.
Lukewarm.
It is just a little bit before the hour of 4 o'clock this afternoon. I'm J. Michael McCoy. You just heard Frank the Verse talk, and of course Chris Roloff, Bob Montzer at the Cat in the Hat watching the chat, and Jeb is producing today. We've got another story to talk about in the last segment, and then Rabbi Yossi Jacobson will be here, and we're going to talk a little, going to ask some questions about the Jewish religion and beliefs, and more than anything, he's really, really disappointed in what we're doing in this country to help Israel and settle the Middle East. So we're coming back. We're live here on The Truth.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
Credit cards are like grandkids. They love you, sometimes get out of control, and it's fun to get a new one. Who can stop them from piling on?
Hi, I'm Tom Coates with Consumer Credit of Des Moines. At the end of the day, you can return the grandkids, but you're stuck paying off bad credit card debt. We'll help you put the fun back into using credit cards responsibly. Right, kids?
Yeah! If you need help getting credit cards off your back, call Consumer Credit of Des Moines.
Rockton Prevention is celebrating 25 years of creating a caring community. We want to say thank you to the tens of thousands of Rock High School mentors that have carried our message of health, love, and encouragement to over 1.5 million children, teachers, and parents. Our mentors teach children methods and skills to prevent bullying and drug use. Thank you to all the school administrators, teachers, and counselors for their opportunity to serve you. Rock on, fair citizens. Rock on. This is Pat McManus for Rockton Prevention, the Richard O. Jacobson Foundation, and this station.
Northern Lights Pizza, your home of the tasty crust. Our garlic butter sauce now available in 12-ounce bottles at Northern Lights, Hy-Vee, and Graziano's.
Northern Lights Pizza. Hi, my name is David Burrier, your Hope Coach. I host a live weekly talk show called I've Been There every Thursday afternoon at 5:30, right here on webcast1live.com, and on my weekly radio program Saturday mornings at 10 on Truth Network 99.3 FM. I interview common, everyday people who have survived incredible life challenges and who testify to God's faithfulness in the midst of their storms. So join me as we bring a message of hope and encouragement. Everybody needs hope. I know, because I've been there.
From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live. From the RE/MAX Real Estate Concept Studios, this is Webcast One Live.
10 minutes before the top of the hour, still transmitter issues, so we are live here on the internet. Hopefully you're taking the time to log in and listen. I know Brad's there. I know Jill's there. A lot of folks tune in online. We appreciate you. Well, you know, a lot of people have been saying for a long time that the Affordable Care Act, which is culturally referred to as Obamacare, is really bad for Americans and bad for America and bad for insurance companies. Well, we've got a major insurance company who is pulling out of Obamacare in almost every state. After nearly $1 billion in losses last year, Humana, 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 one of the nation's leading health insurance providers, announced it is pulling out of Obamacare in nearly all of its states. The announcement came the same day the Obama administration declared it would take legal action against a multi-billion-dollar merger between Humana and another top 5 health insurance provider, Aetna. According to Humana, Obama's signature healthcare reform could have a severe effect on the company, resulting in limited revenue and increasing the company's medical and operating costs. Starting in 2017, that's guys, this is August. Okay, so we're looking at August, September, October, November, December, less than 5 months. Starting then, Humana will provide individual plans in an estimated 156 counties across 11 states. That compared to 1,351 counties across 19 states. This news did not come as a surprise given Humana's warning earlier this year about pulling out of Obamacare. Plans due to financial concerns. Other insurance companies also are suffering financial difficulties. United Health Group said in April it would pull out of most Obamacare marketplaces, withdrawing from at least 26 of its prior 34 states. United Health is the biggest health insurance provider in the United States, and it says it has lost almost $500 million and could lose another $500 million next year.
So that means it's not working, correct?
Right. It's exactly what we told them, that it wouldn't work, that you're going to put insurance companies out of business, you're going to drive up costs, it'll be harder for people to get the coverage that they need, and you can't keep your doctor and you can't keep your insurance.
Right, and it said it narrowed from 5 to now 3, I think.
Yeah.
So competition is not as, well, it's going to be tougher.
Well, 2 things that I've said all along is Obama ran on single-payer health care in 2008 against Hillary, and some people say that this is a nefarious plot on his attempt just to shove us single-payer health care when this implodes on itself, because everybody knows that this is going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
But the second thing is the employer mandate was postponed until after he leaves office in 2017, and they say that when the employers decide to take the penalty instead of covering the health insurance plans for their employees, that it could dump as many as 100 million people on the public dole. So that's why probably Aetna and these others are merging or wanting to get out altogether, because they see the numbers are not going to be going their direction.
Well, I also know there's another problem with, I don't know if I should say the healthcare system. I think it's the people that go. Many people, I believe, abuse the system.
Hypochondriacs.
If they have a cold.
Sure.
Or, I'm just saying that they go for any reason and abuse the system. And then when they go, obviously they're going to be charged for these doctor visits. And it's just, so I think the fact that people are not healthy in general and are not taking care of their health, and I'm sure you agree with me there.
Yes.
Frank. And therefore are using the medical system more than really should be. And it's a health issue. It's not, how should I say, it's not a medical issue. It's really poor health, that people are not maintaining their health.
Yeah. And if you talk to people inside of Mercy or Methodist, and I'm not talking about the receptionist or even a doctor, but you talk about the people who are running the companies, it's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. They can find no long-term, they can find no path that they can go down long-term to sustain these businesses.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Go ahead, Frank.
I drive by a primary health care facility every day on my way to come into KTIA Radio and the Truth Network. And every day I see probably 20 employees out in the parking lot smoking cigarettes. Goes to what Bob's saying. Nobody cares. Nobody's taking care of the health. Even the people who are working with the results of not taking care of your health aren't taking care of their health.
Right. And that's the thing I see too. And the last thing I want to do is be going to a doctor's office to put drugs in my body. That's the last thing I want to do. If there's an accident or something goes wrong, that's one thing. But if I can avoid it, I'm going to do everything I can to avoid going in.
Yeah.
Because I'm sick. I don't want to be sick.
Yeah. Well, I just I worry that the health care that I've been paying into, that I've been the American dream of the simply the best medicine in the world here in the United States of America, and yet it now seems like we are what are we doing? We're drowning ourselves in costs. Pretty soon there will be no more health insurance carriers. Now, what is Des Moines, guys? It's the
health insurance capital of the United States.
Yeah, first in the United States, second in the world. What's going to happen to this country when all of a sudden that healthcare system is terrible and only the elite and the privileged can afford to have the right work done on themselves or their kids or their grandkids or their mom and their dad?
Well, I agree with you, but I think the answer to that is you've got to take care of yourself. I mean, you've got to do everything you can to make sure your health is as good as it is going to be.
But at some point, Bob, it just wears out.
Yeah, your body eventually is going to wear out.
Politicians ought to have the same health care they're trying to foist on the populace.
Absolutely. Because, boy, I tell you what, we wouldn't have it. All right, well, this goes under the category of I told you so. I told you so 7 years ago on the radio. I told you this Obamacare stuff is horrible for us. And look what's come home to roost. The truth. And you heard it right here on The Truth. I'm J. Michael McCoy. If I haven't told you lately, thanks for listening. I love this job. I couldn't do it without you. Right here on The Truth, 99.3 FM. Remember, tonight, go home, forgive. Because it's as you forgive, you will be forgiven.